All right, buddy, we are live. So,
hello world.
Eric, SD Place asked, why a solo project this year?
There's a few reasons, really. Mostly, I guess, the Matchstick guys approached me with the idea, it was kind of being played with a little bit, and they seemed pretty motivated to make it happen. So for me, I had to obviously just say yes to that opportunity because, it's kind of a cool thing to access and go through all the footage from over 14 years of working with the production company, and just try and hopefully we'll make a good film that explains my career and the journey I've had, the very fortunate journey, and the amazing people that have helped shape my life and allowed me to have these opportunities.
How many years is the footage of?
I guess I started filming with Matchstick in 2004. And that first year was just one trip, really, and then a session down at Super Park 6, the very last Super Park, which was a lot of fun. I'd always dreamed of going to those massive events, and finally got my chance, luckily, right at the last year they had it. And then also, luckily, there's quite a bit of footage that we have access to from, obviously, my family. My old man was pretty keen on just shooting like home videos on the old mini DV high 8 tapes, and I also had a high school buddy who was he actually went on to work in the film industry as a camera tech and a kind of camera assistant. He's down in Vancouver, so he was always super keen. Plus he was one of my ski buddies, my ski racing friends, so we have a lot of that old footage, which is pretty classic. And then there's also some other production companies from before I started working with Matchstick, like Pimpin' Frogs, based out of Whistler here. And even Level 1, I was in the very first Level 1 film.
What was that one called?
That one was called Balance. And that's right at the same time frame that I met Matt Servans. It was probably, I guess that was my first year coming to Whistler, working volunteering as a digger, we were called, and we basically were the manual groomers of the snowboard park. And at that time, I think the first 2 years were, there was only skiers allowed that were helping work or filming. There wasn't an actual like skier camp, let's say. And then I think by the second or third year I was going, they opened it up to skiers, and then we all kind of became coaches. And I worked up there for probably 12 years. Have many great memories, and that's where I got to know Matt, and we got to start skiing together.
That's sick. So here's a question from TGR Forum, where we posted a bunch of things asking for people. Tahoe J asked, who is your favorite skier growing up? Who'd you look up to?
I mean, there's been a lot, of course, but one of the guys, kind of my earliest real like ski star, was a good friend of mine named Andrew Shepard. He was born in Banff as well, grew up there. And back in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a production company, action film sport production company based out of Calgary called Real Action Pictures, Rap Films. And Andrew was he was like the young gun in some of those films, and then he kind of grew into like one of their main stars. And obviously for someone like me, just 10 years younger, growing up skiing those same areas and watching him shred at such a high level, he was like super big influence on my life for skiing, for sure. And he's actually going to be in the film. We filmed with him this year, and he plays a big role, as he should, because he definitely taught me a lot, and eventually became friends and went on some pretty cool trips filming and skiing all across the world, really.
So, Eric, we're going to just shoot the shit for a minute because Instagram's having technical difficulties with volume. So
it's the internet?
It's the internet. You broke the internet. All it could handle was your looks. Couldn't handle anything you were saying. So we'll go over how's summer been, dude? Have you been mountain biking? Is that what you...
Yeah.
How's the bike? Did you get her tuned up?
Had probably my best summer of mountain biking I've ever had, up until recently. But yeah, we did a lot of biking. We were biking, went down to the States a couple times, into Washington and into kind of the southern corner of British Columbia. I didn't really spend much time down there, but some very cool trails. I managed to make it up to the Chilcotins for a quick 2-day trip, and then Jennifer and I, my wife, I was over in Europe for work, so I was able to bring her over, and we did about 10 days of biking in the Alps.
Nice, dude.
And that was, probably, I would say, easily the best bike trip of my life. We had a lot of fun.
What's the biking like over there?
It's pretty much endless. It's so much. It's kind of like the skiing there. There's just so much access. There's old trails, lifts everywhere, roads in every valley. Like, you could spend a lifetime just biking around and riding a new trail in a new area every day, and I'm pretty sure you would never ride them all. Like, it's just pretty ridiculous. And because of all that great access with roads, overpasses, and lifts up into the Alpine, it's just fantastic, like high Alpine riding, which is something we don't get a lot of in North America because there's just no way to get up there. Most of the mountain biking's below tree line. So yeah, pretty sweet.
It's awesome, man. So we're going to go right back to, if you could just answer again, SD Palace asked, why solo project this year? Like, why this year, not last year, not next year?
Yeah, hey. What does it mean? What does it all mean? No, I mean, it was basically Matchstick was kind of kicking the idea around. I think Scott Gaffney was the instigator. He was just kind of thinking about putting all my footage together, and that would be a really nice film, he figured. And about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, they started talking about it, and they seemed pretty keen, and my sponsors got on board, and I had to jump on the opportunity to dig into 14 years of footage and try and build an interesting ski film that kind of shows my journey and the characters that were involved.
Tight, dude. And let's just nail this again. Well, who was your favorite skier growing up? I think some people obviously didn't hear it on Instagram, so.
Okay, well, growing up in Banff, the Banff area, the Canadian Rockies, I had an idol as a young, kind of 10-year-old into my teenage years, a guy by the name of Andrew Shepard, who was also from Banff. He grew up there and skied all around. And there was a small production company based out of Calgary, Real Action Pictures, Rap Films, in the late 80s, early 90s. And Andrew kind of came into those films as the young Grom, and then worked his way to like being one of the main kind of stars that they had. And obviously growing up there and seeing these films filmed around our area, and then they would also, go to Alaska and the Alps and everything. It was super inspiring. And fortunately I got to know Andrew and got to actually go, at the start of my film career, we did a couple actual film trips up to Alaska and down to Argentina, and we've kind of been good friends ever since. So
that's awesome.
He's actually one of the really important characters that will be in the Hoji film project, and we brought him out, and he was hucking pretty good. Probably hasn't filmed skiing in like 15 years or something, so it was awesome.
That's sick. So I just want to remind everyone who's watching, we're going to be giving away a free pair of touring poles that Eric uses, not his specific ones because those are in Canada, but ones from our warehouse every 10 minutes. So tag your friends in the comment section, and let's and then we'll pick a winner based off how many people, who's really hyping this up. So second question, ND Strange from Instagram is wondering, what do you do for the first hour every day?
Well, it depends when do you consider the day to start? Because a lot of days I'm probably still working on something until 5 a.m. So that's kind of.
Let's say after you are asleep, when you wake up, what do you do after you wake up?
Well, usually I pretty much get out of bed and go straight for the coffee because I'm so tired from staying up all night that I need instant stimulus. But yeah, it all depends on where I'm at and what I'm doing. In the summers it's pretty casual. At least I get to basically enjoy my coffee, and then I'm usually hammering on the computer or going down to the shop or planning a day of mountain biking. Depends how heavy my workload is. But coffee is super important.
So, yeah, we agree, man. Coffee is critical. DMatt W from Instagram is wondering, how did you get sponsored?
Well, I mean, back in the day, I had, very fortunately, my father had filmed a bunch of stuff on just those little old camcorders, and then my buddy from high school was into filming and editing, and he actually went on to become a camera assistant in the film industry. He works down in Vancouver. But so yeah, between my friend Josh's footage and my dad's footage, we cut together in the old editing bay in our high school VHS to VHS. We made a couple short little films, sponsor me films, and I got a couple reference letters and photos and basically sent them out to whoever I could get a contact for. Back then it was mailing VHS tapes and writing, like sending written letters. But yeah, luckily there was a local shop in Banff, Minot Sports. Tatum Minot's dad, Peter, is he's like a third generation kind of Banff guy. He's good lineage there and amazing ski racer. And he kind of, at that time, that was like the late 90s, and things were really just starting with free riding and, twin tips and all this. What we now think of skiing, it didn't really exist at that time. And he, even being like really a racer focused guy, he saw the potential, and so he put together a shop team, and I was like the super young Grom on the team. Everyone else was 10 years older than me.
All right. So from we asked TGR forums if they wanted to ask you any questions, and Gagan from TGR is wondering, is the new Renegade still mock loony with its new rocker profile?
I mean, yeah, the Renegade has always been designed for high-speed power shredding. I would say the rocker profile hasn't changed a ton. More than anything, we've revised the shape, and we're working on offering it in different lengths. So I think that's one of the nice things. I'm going to have a 184 that's a little bit more nimble for my light, small frame. And we'll have a longer 190 that's a bit less of a jump to the old 196, which was just crazy.
Yeah.
People are asking for a 205.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Big guys.
You could make it like 70 wide.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, let's go into, this is sort of a related question. So from Facebook, Dave Williams is wondering, did the changes you made to the ski design allow you to do what you want to do, or were you skiing the way, basically I think what he's asking is, did the skis allow you to ski the way you want to ski, or did they just help you along the way? Did they enable you to do something that you couldn't do before?
Yeah, I mean, that I think was my immediate addiction to being involved with ski design and ultimately building skis. Was I would have kind of what I wanted to do, and I had ideas for the tool I needed, and I would build that tool and go and test it, and that would allow me to ski at even a higher level, and then I would have more ideas. So it's kind of this like cycle of progression, and every time we made an improvement with the equipment, with the skis, allowed me to ski better to a higher level than I previously was. So it's kind of a really fun path to go down. But I think it's always, the drive to try and think of how to make something that'll make it easier and allow you to do something more than you've done before. And then obviously once you get that, you'll think of something else, hopefully.
That's awesome. So we're going to pick our first winner, Eric, and who we got? Just say a name.
LB Zeppelin off the Instagram.
LB Zeppelin. What do you know, man? They're going to get a free pair of poles. And email info@forefront.com.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Free poles, baby.
Free poles. So from Instagram as well, this is kind of based on the same logic here. From Instagram, if you had to pick one ski binding combo for Whistler, a resort and backcountry, which would you go with?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Yeah, I mean, I would probably, if you're going for day-to-day everything, in any time of year, in any condition, and you want the resort and backcountry, that's kind of the whole point of the Hoji, was to make a all-around daily driver at a good width that's acceptable for firm snow, but still super fun and fast and floaty in POW. So yeah, that would be my ski. That's the point of that ski. And then the bindings are tougher because it's kind of hard right now. Like I would probably have to go with my Beast 14s, even though they're not really that available in the resort. But for me, that binding works very, very well. I've filmed pretty much all my recent footage in the last 4 years on that binding with no issues. And it's a bit heavy, but I feel very comfortable skiing it aggressively, even on firm snow and even with the toe unlocked. So that's kind of, for me, the difficult thing with tech bindings on hard snow, skiing aggressively. It's the traditional tech bindings, you have to choose if you want to lock the toe or not. And that's not a choice that's that fun to make sometimes.
So that kind of goes into another question from Gary J. Utah from Instagram. What's the biggest cliff you've hucked with tech bindings?
I mean, there's been a few. There was one there was a really nice one, I thought anyway, in the Matchstick film from, it was probably, what year was that? The Rose and Ruin year, maybe? It's in my bonus segment, but bonus edit maybe. And that was a solid, I don't know, must be 30 to 40 feet with high speed, long air and drop and high speed to a good landing. But that's definitely one, that's kind of my envelope for any equipment. Like I wouldn't say I've really jump much bigger than 40 feet all that often, just because it hurts. But no, those, yeah, that's a good example, and that cliff I think really proves that what those beast bindings are capable of.
It's awesome.
Do you exclusively ski in those beasts?
I mean, no, not. That's kind of my heavy setup for aggressive skiing, for filming, and if I'm going to the resort and thinking I'll be on the resort more than off the resort. But I use like more of the traditional classic tech binding, Dynafit binding a lot of the time, especially when I'm working at backcountry huts and coaching people, and generally skiing very good soft snow and maybe not trying to huck like I'm filming. But in those conditions, I absolutely love just the simplicity, and the original low tech binding it's so amazing. It's still performs and relevant for that kind of skiing, 35 years after it was invented by Fritz Bartels. So I think when you're really touring, that's the focus of your day and what you're going to do. I mean, if you're trying to go for a good objective or a big day, like, weight is a super critical factor.
Absolutely.
So I definitely go for the lighter setup if that's the choice of the day.
Hey Eric, can you remind people what we're doing with the polls?
You're giving polls away.
So we're gonna say tag your friends in the comment sections. Share this feed, and whoever tags and promotes this feed the most is gonna win a free pair of UpTrack poles, which Eric uses pretty much exclusively. I think. I don't think you have another pair of poles.
Yeah, that's about it, because they work well for me, and the adjustability is simple and nice to have for touring, obviously, and then a lot of the time I just don't even think about it and just rock them at a set length, and I don't notice any difference. You
were talking about weight before. Earned, I don't even know how to say this dude's name. Earned Voss is wondering what your average weight on your like touring setup is. Like, what kind of weight do you go for, and what stuff do you put on for your average day?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I actually never have really added it all up all that often, because I just kind of think of each part as its own weight. I guess I could do the math here, but
we don't need a calculator.
The skis, it's nice to have something under 2,000 grams per ski. If you can get to 1,800, even once you get to like 1,600, you start sacrificing, I've found, downhill performance. So the skis just don't have enough mass and moment of inertia to plow through things. So I kind of 1,800 to 2,000 is a nice range for me, and that's a pretty wide ski. Usually it's between 104 to 122 and a 184 usually, or 186. And then for touring bindings, it's nice if you can get something, those classic low-tech Dynafit bindings are usually between 300 and 400 grams per ski. So what are we at there? Like 1,800 to
22, yeah.
2,400 grams maybe, let's say, per setup. And then you have the boots that are hopefully, under as well, under 1,900 grams, or I guess I'm doing this wrong because it's probably mostly people in the States, but
that's how they measure it, though. I think that's how everyone.
Yeah, but if your boots can be 1,700 grams, even lighter, that's pretty good. So
cool.
You're looking at like 3 kilos, 3.5 kilos, something per foot. If that answers it. And then the skins are something people don't really take into account, but I mean, a lot of the classic skins that we have available here, especially in North America, they're super bulky and heavy, and there are a lot of other skin options out there, and you can save. I can't remember the weights off. I'd have to look at some notes, but it's definitely a significant amount. Like, I think you can save about 100 grams per foot if you select lighter weight skins, and on fat skis, especially if your primary use is in powder, that makes a big difference.
Dope. So we're gonna change up the flavor here, Eric, and that was super technical, and thanks for sharing. I'm sure. I mean, there are a lot of people that go into the numbers, so I think they appreciated that.
So Most East from Instagram says, when are you doing a showing for the movie in Revy? And maybe, or just tell us where the other stops are.
Yeah, I don't, Revelstoke, I don't have, I would have to check with Matchstick if they have a plan. I haven't actually planned that one. I've been focused on going to a lot of different places all over the place, and that's part of it. Is I need to go over to Europe for work-related reasons. So I'm maximizing my visit there, and I'm gonna attend the film and present the film in a few places in Austria and Italy, hopefully Norway. That's kind of still in the works, and even Iceland is being talked about, which would be super cool, and the UK as well. So, and there is one possibility to maybe go to Greece.
Whoa.
So I'm trying to, can't be everywhere all the time, unfortunately, and I'm seeing what's possible, but yeah, I'll have to check. A Revelstoke show might be possible kind of late November or early December. Like, I'll be around that area at that time anyway, so maybe we can organize something.
Sick. So from Instagram, Raising Arizona 13 is wondering if you had to pick 2 pro skiers that you'd want your back in a bar brawl, who would they be?
I don't know. Skiers are all pretty weak and weak. I don't like. I've seen. I think it's old school. Like old school guys. I've seen Hugo. I mean, that guy is like French Canadian, like voyageur. He's like a hockey or an MMA guy, and I've seen him take down some pretty big guys in like wrestling just for fun. But guys much bigger than him, and he's just so strong. I mean, I don't know what he's up to now if he's that keen to fight, but I think he would be a pretty good choice. Who else is? I mean, skiers are all pretty small, right? Like who is someone fierce and aggressive, not afraid, probably likes drinking? I mean, that pretty much sums up everyone, I guess. Who else? Maybe Abma, actually. Abma is a very tough individual. Like, he is shredded, and he's not very tall or big, but he's thick and strong. I've seen that guy move some heavy objects that I had no business trying to attempt to move. So, and he's like from the lower mainland and pretty tough. Like, he rocked a mullet for like 2 years for his own choice in the 2000s, like not in the 80s. So I think he'd be a good one too.
Nice. So we're gonna pick our next poll winner, and you win a free pair of Uptrack poles if you are posting a lot to you tagging your friends and promoting this post. So Clay Lynch from Instagram is winning a free pair of poles. So just Clay, if you want to email info@forefront.com, we'll get you hooked up. So along that lines, so John Loke from Instagram as well is wondering, what's the scariest thing you've ever done on skis, and what was your mindset before and after?
Oh man, there's many memories of being very scared, and that's actually what I came to enjoy a lot through this crazy journey of being a pro skier and having these opportunities. But it's that, there's I can think of dozens of big lines that took a lot of preparation and just getting ready to ski mentally and waiting for conditions and just being in the right place. And also, especially quite a few years ago, hitting some of the huge park jumps that are like by today's standards, I don't know. But certainly some of those matchstick super booter Whistler sessions, like one year I actually was the guinea when everyone was kind of turning it down. So that was one of those moments where the fear is what makes it real, and it's ultimately what keeps you alive. That's why you're afraid. On many of the big lines as well, like you're just riding that line of being terrified and being confident, because you're challenging your abilities to the highest level, and you're relying on your experience, everything that you've done up until that point, to make the right decisions. But yeah, I like the intensity and like the focus. It's basically like you have to visualize yourself accomplishing the task, because you believe in yourself and you believe in your skills, and so you have to really see yourself doing it and know that you can do it and trust yourself. And then that's like when you drop into whatever it may be, like the level of focus, like I feel like some of those moments I remember so vividly, and at the time when it was happening, it's like you're seeing it at 500 frames a second. Like everyone talks about it, but it's whatever the zone or whatever, but you're so focused, and you're taking your body is maxing out its observations and its senses. And that's something that's pretty interesting and a lot of fun if you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah. So we have another question from TGR. XXXer is wondering, and there's been rumors, maybe you can't talk about this, but there are rumors spreading about your boot being released without the speed nose, with a proper toe piece. Can you talk about this at all, or?
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit of a classified and a bit of a we all have to wait and see. Okay.
Cool.
The future looks good. Let's say it that way. And I mean, I've already gone to Europe once this summer, obviously, and I'm going back again this fall twice, and I'll go back in the winter. So the boot development is just beginning. This isn't the plateau. We're just getting started here. And what needs to happen is that hopefully we worked as hard as we could and tested and tried, and I believe we did. Like, I honestly believe I put 5 years of my life into that project. And the footage of, like, the cliff we were talking about earlier, the biggest cliff I've done really that I felt good about on tech bindings, was in prototype boots that we built for that project. So I wasn't holding back testing those boots. So yeah, hopefully the first Hoji, the Pro Tour, I'm optimistic that people like it. I like it. And we just need that to build momentum to give way to, like, even further, what's the limit? We're just starting with a good platform, and we have a long way, a lot of potential to make it, I think, even much better. So
that's awesome.
There'll be something for everyone in the future, let's say it that way.
Cool. So Nick in BC from TGR is wondering, changes to the Raven this year. Seems to be concerned from comments and on photos that the rocker is a lot more than previous versions. He's thinking of getting a pair to replace his old Hojis, mainly for touring Rogers Pass. Do you have anything to say about those skis behind you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like from what I've skied on and tested, I mean, our whole goal is to, in this transitional period with the company and switching over to production in Canada, is to match exactly what we were doing in the White Room. And also it gives us the opportunity to make improvements, because we're redoing tooling, and there's lots of little things and details that were things I would like to have changed in the past, but once the tooling is made and you're building the skis a certain way, it's hard to make changes. So right now, I mean, the new skis are fantastic, and we're having, I think, a good transition. And I wouldn't consider the rocker profile of the new skis to be severely different than the old skis that were produced in the White Room. And I skied on the Ravens a lot this spring, just ripping around because I had new boots to test, and that actually was a lot of fun, and I really highly enjoyed the new skis.
It's awesome. So
MSP movie.
What?
What's your favorite MSP movie?
Yeah, what's your favorite MSP movie?
I mean, I would go back to the classics, like really, like Sixth Sense stands out in my mind, because that was the first one. Like, I remember going into the video rental store, which doesn't exist now, seeing this, like they had the action kind of sports zone, and then there was like suddenly I'd never heard of MSP or anything, and rented that film for a couple bucks, and it blew me away because that was the introduction of J.P. Auclair, J.F. Goussaint, Vincent Dorian, Shane Zox, Mike Douglas, Brad Holmes, Hugo, and I don't know, Hugo might not have been in that one, but all these new characters that I had no idea were out there, in a new way of like all the jibbing, all the progression. It was the first year of the 1080, and like that movie is burnt into my mind. We pirated it and VHS to VHS. It was super bad, and I just recorded like all the jump segments. I was just so fascinated by these new characters and this, the progression of skiing, high speed skiing, big lines, and it's just a next level from stuff that I'd seen. So that one is burnt into my mind as my favorite because it was the first one, and it really made a huge impression.
That's awesome. So Eric, we're gonna pick another poll winner from Facebook. We have Adam Handybridge.
Nice.
And hopefully I'm saying that right. It's HANDIBDGE. So Adam, email info@forefront.com and get a free pair of Uptrack poles.
Thank you for sharing this feed.
Yeah, and everyone who's sharing, keep doing it. We're gonna pick one more winner. We're coming down to the final question. So Q Munko from Instagram is wondering, how many skis did you break this season? 0.
0, yeah. No, I don't know if maybe I'm just old and cautious, or I ski, a lot on the coast or the interior. I'm not around super rocky zones all that much, although this year I did ski in the Rockies quite a bit. It was good to go home and ski with some really good friends, people that I grew up skiing with in my home, and we had fantastic skiing, actually. But yeah, I haven't really broken a lot of skis, actually. I've broken my fair share of boots, especially ones that I built that weren't strong enough. And I've broken some bindings. Not really the Beast, though. It's more the old classic Dynafit stuff. Trying to remember the last ski I really broke, and I'm not really bringing I can't remember. I used to break rosinals all the time when I skied on them in the Rockies, and they had foam cores. But since I've skied on wood skis, I've had pretty good luck. I just think that the core, most skis by today's standards are made with wood. They've kind of gone away from foam, so it's probably less of an issue.
Got it. So from Facebook, Jean-Sebastien Cartier-Plante is wondering, if there was only one place you could ski for the rest of your life, where would it be?
Oh man, that's the worst.
You knew that was coming, though. You knew that question was coming.
How small? Can I say the Alps or British Columbia or Alaska? What's the size of the place? Always, I don't understand. Is it a region or just one mountain in
specific mountain?
Particular?
I think he means a specific mountain, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think it would have to be somewhere probably in the center, the interior of British Columbia. I can't think of an exact spot, but there's just so many areas there that are so good for skiing that have what I would look for is the combination of good tree skiing. That's for me one of the musts. Has to have fun pillows, steep trees, and a good powder window. That's kind of the trouble here on the coast that we have in Whistler. Is that it's not up there's amazing pillow skiing and tree skiing, but the window is a little shorter. So I would pick somewhere that stays, higher elevation, that stays cold. for longer and has old growth forest. Like maybe Terrace actually. I remember not that long ago I was going through, like, I have millions of or thousands of terrain photos, and I went through my trip to Terrace back in 2007, and I just was blown away by it. It has a huge combination of amazing pillows, tree skiing, high alpine. Like obviously you need high peaks with glaciers, and like that's just a whole nother level. And in the springtime, that's like the goods to go to. So maybe Terrace. I need to go back there actually. It's been about 10 or 11 years.
Okay. All right, so another question from Instagram. You might know these guys. MSP Films is wondering, how many pairs of skis do you own?
I think less than people would think. Like, I'm constantly... Most of my old skis are gone to good friends or people who need skis. Like, there's been people who lost one Hoji or broke something, or their skis got stolen, and there's been lots of friends that I just want... I don't want these skis sitting around if they're still current and relevant. Like, I've kept a few. I have some original Renegades that were pressed wrong. The power went off mid-press, blackout, and we lost all the pressure. And so those are a nice, real nice keepsake, just cut out and kind of roughly tuned, but never mounted or skied on, and I'll keep those forever. I also have a pair of Renegade prototypes that we built in Norway with a buddy of mine, Andre Halls, who has his own kind of ski building factory and company. And those are just beautifully made with wood inlay, and very cool. And we're one of the first kind of tests of the Reflectech technology that I got to try. And then I have like a fleet of obviously my personal skis that I keep skiing on, and probably in my house, in my life, there's I would say like 10 to 15 pairs max, and like probably 18 of those pairs are skiable. There are also a lot of demo setups that every year I do the camps, and I try to have a nice demo fleet of all like the current or out like the new forefront stuff that's coming out, set up with demo track, Dynafit touring bindings and skins, and so sometimes I have a bit of an inventory of those, but so I'm not a hoarder of skis.
Well, along those lines, so Gray Son Nukriniets, I can't even say his name, but he's wondering how he can get a free pair of your skis.
Well, that's that's an easy one. It's not a guarantee, of course, but we're a few months ago, I went down to Salt Lake City, and we went in the White Room, and we actually built 5 pairs of custom, like, limited edition Renegades, and cut them out, and those are actually going to be raffled off. But you have to go to you have to attend one of the premieres or go on to skimovie.com and sign up and enter your name. I mean, it's not a guarantee, but that's a good way.
What was your first pair of freestyle skis?
The absolute first pair of freestyle skis I got were a pair out of that Minot shop sponsorship. Peter has a long heritage with Rosignol. That's who he raced for. So he was always getting like a bit of the Rosignol's like next year's stuff. So he had a few pairs of those POW Airs, they were called, which was probably like 70 wide and like early twin tip. And actually the pair I got, because I was the junior guy on the team and I got the last choice or the whatever, I had a pair that had they didn't even have edges in the center. They had like the end of the edges, and they had these like plastic grind plates for rail jam. So yeah, that was I went through those really quickly, and the boys in the shop, they eventually got so sick of trying to rebuild my skis because the edges kept falling out and the foam core was basically turned into dust. And I remember they would make they had clear bases, so they made base patches with new edges, and they started putting like little messages like "Stay away from the rocks."
So young Alex from Instagram is wondering. This is a bit of a lefty zinger here. What's your spirit vegetable?
Oh, spirit vegetable.
This is coming from young Alex. Thanks, young Alex, for the zinger.
I mean, I really enjoy vegetables. Trying to think what I might have to choose like pepper, like a pepper. Because they're, I mean, if you're saying just like a class of vegetable, there's just so many kinds of pepper, so many flavors and levels of spiciness. So
which pepper represents you the most?
Huh?
Which pepper represents you the most?
What's a good pepper? Like a poblano or something? That's too bland. Like I want a hot, like a jalapeno's too common. What are those little red ones? Those are pretty sweet.
Habaneros.
Okay. Let's do it.
So from Facebook, Greg O is wondering, what's the biggest backcountry mistake you've made, and what did you learn from it?
That's a great question, actually, and I can immediately think of a few very good examples. One in particular was actually the trip where I got to first meet and really ski with Fritz Bartel at Dinafit there, the inventor of the tech bindings. We weren't skiing together this particular day, but it was a big kind of they call it a competence center, like dealers meeting. They bring in all their retailers and personnel, and we were skiing in Switzerland out of this beautiful kind of backcountry hotel, the Salzflug, and we'd been skiing there for probably 3 or 4 days, and we knew, I mean, it was one of those situations like classic Rockies snowpack they had really early snow and then a huge drought and super cold, basically rotted out the basal snowpack, basal facets, depth hoar. And everyone was very aware of that. We were really kind of feeling it out and skiing over the 3 or 4 days and just kind of working our way through the terrain and making, the appropriate choices. And as we had more time in the area, we kind of started taking bigger bites and skiing more things. And there's some natural avalanche activity and a couple, there just wasn't a lot happening. It seemed like the mid-pack of the snowpack was so dense that, and well settled, it was kind of bridging that low instability. And as a result, I kind of spearheaded kind of collecting the keeners of the group, a bunch of Norwegians and also some Germans. And I had seen this line in the distance that looked pretty nice, and it was actually in Austria. It was in the Montafon Valley, which is kind of strange because I went there and skied it years later with Matt Sturbins and didn't even realize we were in the same area. He actually pointed, he's like, "This is that area you had that massive avalanche, isn't it?" I'm like, "Yes." It's nuts. But yeah, anyway, the end of the story was we went there, went on this awesome dawn patrol mission. It was just beautiful. Left at 4:35 in the morning because we had to go probably 15 kilometers to get to this. And we had a good group, probably 8 people, all pretty good skiers, and got out there, and there's tracks. It hadn't snowed in a while. There's tracks everywhere. There was even tracks right beside the line we were looking at from the previous day that were terribly executed and going through all these rocky areas and just where you would avoid actually in those exact conditions. And the thing we were looking at was really a well-supported kind of convex bowl feature and had one roll in it. But we had kind of felt that we had some confidence in the stability, and even though there was this critical layer buried 1.5 meters at least almost down from the early season. So I went first, and I just hammered this one. There's one little roll in the slope, and nothing happened, and the next guys came, and the next guys, and then on, I think it was the fourth or fifth guy, my buddy Robert actually works for Dynafit, but he was the only guy on more classic little, like, randonnée, lightweight, 70 mil wide skis. Everyone else, all these Norwegian guys had wider skis, and I think that actually probably played a part in this incident. But he ended up skiing kind of right in the tracks where we had planned to ski, and he just hit like the magic, like a thin spot where there was a rock protruding that we couldn't, it just looked like a nice fat supported good shape of a slope, and he popped that thing, and it was easily a size 3. It basically ripped to ground, and he got completely, like, he was just gone. And I was in what I thought was a good spot, and that was one of the lessons I learned actually, was just like, you really have to always, wherever you stop, look above you, and like, if anything happens, just understand like where you're at and the potential of like you're going to become involved. So I actually had to stop watching, trying to see where he was going, and get out of, I ended up traversing and like with high speed out in front of, I was a ways away, but this thing just like propagated. The whole snowpack came down, easily 1.5 meters to the rocks and the grass. And he, by just the pure luck of it, was the only one in our party with an airbag. And I mean, this was years ago. This is 5-6 years ago now, and he pulled that, and I guarantee it saved his life, because I was the first guy. I mean, I was the best chance of his recovery. I was the most experienced and in kind of a good position, but because I had chosen to like cut out and stay kind of high in this terrain to watch everyone, and I thought it was a good spot, but it started breaking and coming. I was actually could have been involved. I had to leave that spot and ended up way lower, and I ended up sprinting. As the avalanche debris the size of small cars and dishwashers and fridges, it was just like hard pack, like a whole snow pack. It wasn't even no soft snow, and he was on top, like, and I had to sprint uphill about 100 meters. I pretty much was puking when I got to him, and he was, obviously very shaken up and terrified, but was completely okay. And I really think like that airbag, I mean, if he didn't have it, he would have probably been a couple meters under the snow, and there was a couple other Norwegians were in a pretty good spot to come over, and like they came over straight away. And I mean, we might have, we were there, we were ready, we could have excavated and dug someone out, but it definitely would have been a deep burial, I think, with the style of debris that we were dealing with. So I guess the story, the morals of these stories are always, if you think you're in a good spot to watch people, to kind of oversee what's going on, spotting them, and like I was kind of unofficially the group leader, because these guys wanted to ski with me, and I kind of, there's this cool, nice looking line that looks supported that we could go do, and it was a tough one. I kind of went through a bit of a emotional roller coaster depression after that, because I just thought we were making good decisions. But the other moral of the story is, like, when you're dealing with super deep instability in the bottom of the snowpack, I mean, it's just one of those things, like, you can never forget about that. And it's tough because we were skiing around, we were good and making good calls and kind of working our way in, and there's dozens of people skiing all over the place, and no incidents at all. So it kind of gave us like, okay, it gave us a false sense. And I mean, who knows? He could have maybe had fatter skis or just turned 5 feet to the left, and he would, and like none of that would have happened. So that was a bit of a trick.
That's a great.
But yeah, give those deep instabilities a lot of respect and don't think they're going away, because they just don't go away.
That's a great lesson, Eric. Thanks for that story. We're gonna pick our final poll winner here, and it's gonna be Brian Michael Erickson from Facebook, or Emerson, I think was his last name. Brian, if you just email info@forefront.com, we'll hook you up with a pair of Uptrack polls. Thanks for sharing and promoting this awesome storytelling with Eric. And Eric, along those lines, let's leave off with your favorite story from last winter, and then that'll wrap us up on this pretty dope live feed talking with you here.
There's so many stories.
Well,
Bastard.
all right.
No, I mean, I think one of my favorite stories I can't actually probably tell you because it's too much part of the film project, which I want everyone to come out and watch. So I can't give it all away. But
where can they find out where to see this film, Eric?
Skimovie.com. Matchstick Productions website should have the tour schedule. That's probably your best option.
Sick.
But yeah, I think actually my one thing I can easily say is, like, last year was this film project was an amazing opportunity with an incredible amount of work and, like, something I've never really considered, because I've always just been a contributor, an athlete, helping with things. And I mean, basically, as soon as the project got going, I became some sort of assistant producer or something, because you kind of need to just jump in and facilitate the things you want to see happen for a project that's based on your life. But I think the best part was really just getting to ski with, like, my old race coaches, my dad, my brother, Chris Rubens, Abma, like, all these people coming together that have been, like, super amazing friends and mentors in my life. And then just getting to, like, go out there and roll the cameras and see what happens. So it was pretty special season for me. I've never had that kind of opportunity. It's usually just, like, you're focused with three other athletes on getting the sickest lines, and so this is a totally different journey, and I highly enjoyed it and feel extremely fortunate that because of this project we got that opportunity to ski together.
It's dope, and they can see it all in the Hoji movie.
That's right. I'm going down on Tuesday to hang out with the legendary Scott Gaffney. I've been on the messaging with him back and forth and checking things out for the past week and a half, and I'm super excited to go down there and just really dive into it. And I think we're off to a good film here, and we just need to polish it.
When's the world premiere?
Well, the world premiere is being put on by Dinafit. It's going to be really a great party in Boulder, Colorado. And then that's October 17th. And then I'm flying directly to Calgary for 2 days of Steve Saranchuk, a really good friend of mine and the owner of Fresh Sports, who puts on Freshtival. And he's been a huge, amazing support, helping friend throughout my career, and a bunch of guys from the Rockies. He's putting on a 2-day showing of it in Calgary, and then I fly directly to Europe for a big Dinafit convention and sales meeting where I'll be presenting it. The next day I presented in Innsbruck at a film festival, the Alpcon Film Festival. The day after that I go to Milan in Italy, Milano actually, and presented at the Montagna Film Festival. And that's just the beginning of, like, a very action-packed tour. So I hope I see you guys out there.
Sick. Well, I'm just going to remind everyone, thanks for tuning in. And remember, you can only find Eric skis at forefront.com, where all skis are under $5.99, because we want to make skiing affordable. Get the skis you want instead of the ski you can afford. All right, Eric. Thank you, buddy.
Any closing words, buddy?
Any closing words for the audience?
No, just, well, I guess, yes. Thank you for having me. This is super cool. I've never done a live feed interview, ask questions, answer questions. I'm a little more confused than when I started, but that's usually a good thing, right?
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you guys.
Peace
Thanks
out,
for
buddy.
tuning in.
Yeah, buddy.